part two of our conversation with Shawn Ellis, the new Director of Operations for Hope Channel Canada, we explore how his unique journey has prepared him for this new chapter. From past ministry projects to his vision for faith based media, we'll talk about what's ahead for Hope Channel Canada and how Shawn hopes to fulfill its mission with creativity, passion, and a strong foundation of faith. Welcome back to Rainmakers, Shawn.
It's good to be back.
So let's talk about this new role. It's in media. What prepared you to step into this new role for Hope Channel Canada?
I think it starts really further back than my own ministry
Mhm.
because when I was doing work for myself, I had to figure out how do you reach people? How do you make them aware of what you do? And then when I went into pastoral ministry, God took that same experience
Mhm.
and allowed me to use it in different ways. First, for example, with the Earth Day Summit
Yeah.
that we had talked about in a previous episode, where I had helped to create a program so people could understand who is God and how is He involved in creation. How do you do that in a way that doesn't turn people off?
Okay.
How do you do that that invites them into that? I actually created a little tactile model that people could interact with. And so they can then understand how the microbial world actually plays out into creation.
Wow.
And so, but people could touch it. So
Mhm.
again, that's a sense of media where people are interacting with it. When I was in pastoral ministry, what had happened is COVID happened,
Yeah.
and that shut down a lot of churches.
Mhm.
And I was instrumental in helping Apple Creek Church to transition from being a primarily in-person
Right.
church
Right.
to completely online. So we actually had to rethink what
Mhm.
we were doing.
Right.
So I helped create graphics, for
Mhm.
example. I helped to structure the program. I helped things that we would call out promotionals, where people would say, "Thank you for watching Apple Creek and be with us later on,"
Right.
all with a view of how do you take a person who's at home and is seeing this for the first time, and you're making it interesting enough to their brain and trying to touch their heart
Mhm.
so that they would get engaged. And then God didn't stop there. What he also did was he had me or gave me the privilege of being involved in an online program for Black History Month,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
And then I was involved in a program called the Martin Luther King program. It was
Mhm.
a celebration. And it first started out in COVID online.
Mhm.
And I was involved in producing that, getting together the camera people, trying to put all the aspects together. So you had a program that, again, was very appealing. And that was quite successful.
Mhm.
And because it was so successful, I was then asked to do the live production post COVID. And that was a very mammoth task. So we
Mhm.
had multiple camera people. We had to coordinate a video wall. We had to coordinate even the staging and when people were coming on and
Wow.
off. And I was responsible for all of that. I became eventually the producer of that program.
Right.
And again, I've been doing it almost ever since COVID.
Mhm.
And that really allowed me to be able to expand my range, but also to be able to create some vision
Mhm.
because I was able to create some of the graphics and the look and the distinctiveness to that program. But
Right.
then also during COVID, I noticed that there was nothing for children. So my wife and I, we actually created a YouTube program
Right.
called Connect to Christ. And it was a
Mhm.
program with my wife and I. And we would then always start out again, it was all about how do you put together a program that's going to catch people's attention.
Mhm.
And so what we would do is we'd start off with some kind of issue. Let's say, you're playing too many video games. So I'd be the person playing the video games. And then it's like, okay, what does the Bible have to say about that? And we created an animation
Mhm.
and we called it Tiny Town, where there was a local pastor and local kids, and they would come with the questions, hey, my friend's playing too many video games. And then from that, I, the live action person, would get the answer of, oh, well, this is
Wow.
why playing video games is not great. And then we realized as we were going that kids also wanted more interaction. So we added to that an animal, a feature animal part. So we would
Right.
find some animals, say a peacock, we'd give you some different facts and information about it. And then at the end of the show, we would invite the kids to participate by participating in a Kahoot game, which is an
Mhm.
online interactive. So if they watch the program, there would be various questions. And if they had the questions, if they got it right, we would show their names on the next episode.
Oh my
This was
goodness.
quite hugely popular because the kids felt it was a way to interact. And what was a big surprise was the parents actually started calling saying, "We like this show. It's so much fun to see you and your wife doing these things."
Right.
So God really gave me a range of opportunities to
Mhm.
not only learn, but to apply and to build. And so that's what I've continued to do ever since. So I'm really looking forward to this opportunity here as Director of Operations for Hope Channel.
What does Director of Operations do?
Well, that's a good question. So
Okay.
there's a range of things. Part of it is management of the studio, trying to understand and make them the operations, the goings on
Right.
as efficient as possible. So I'm not hands on, but I will find out from the people that work here, and we're really fortunate to have an awesome team.
Mhm.
All levels of this of Hope Channel, but I'd be talking with them to find out, okay, what do you need to make this more efficient,
Mhm.
better? So that's one of the things. The other thing that I'd be looking at too, in terms of operations, that I'll be working with the show producers. I'll sit down with them. I'll find out because we're not just doing random programming.
Yeah.
Our programming is really designed to touch hearts and to gain interest.
Mm.
So people will say, hey, I didn't know God wanted this for me.
Yeah.
Or I didn't know the Seventh day Adventist Church was like this.
Mhm.
And so I'll sit down with the different producers to find out, is the show meeting its goals, or do we have to tweak things
Right.
to make things more effective?
Mhm.
We'll also be looking at some show ideas as well. One of the things I'm very passionate about is looking at things such as what we call reality based programming.
Mhm.
So, I always love things like I call it vegan in 10 days, for example. There's a lot of people that want to eat healthy,
Right.
and the Adventist Church has a health message.
Mhm.
So, you could have a program that's a reality based program where there's challenges and things. There's no losers
Yeah.
because that's not what we're about. But by the end of it, people will understand more about our health message. They might take away some good recipes and they might decide, hey, I want to become vegan as well. So it looks at a range of things, but the overall focus is how do we make sure we're on
Mhm.
track with what we're doing, that we're
Yeah.
reaching who we want to reach, and how we can do that as efficiently as possible.
Basically, we want to make sure people are watching so that they can
Mhm.
come to know Jesus.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Because if there's shows that people aren't watching, we shouldn't be producing them. We need to move to where people are asking questions,
Exactly.
you know.
Exactly.
Excellent. How has your consulting background influenced how you approach ministry today?
Mm. Well, one of the beautiful things about consulting is you meet a lot of people.
Mhm.
So interacting with people becomes critical. And with Hope Channel, like I said, we have a lot of people here. So I've really learned from consulting how to listen.
Right.
You don't come in and you make decisions. You have to really work as a team.
Yeah.
And you have to understand sometimes what's not being said. Not that anyone's holding things back, but sometimes you don't have the words.
Yeah.
And so I might express something, but there's an underlying part to it. And then that's where you kind of hear, wait, so do you really mean that? And then go,
Mhm.
yes, yes, that's what it is. The other part of it too is the whole aspect of what I would call the efficiency. When you're a consultant, your job is to complete and complete on time, on budget, with excellence.
Mm.
And so part of my role will be bringing that in there too to make sure whatever goals we set,
Yeah.
we complete it on time and with excellence and on budget.
Excellent. Excellent. I think you're going to make a great director of operations for Hope Channel Canada because it's going to help shows like this
Mhm,
keep on the air and direct us and help us speak the language that people are watching understand. Because sometimes
mhm.
Christians speak a language that the rest of the world doesn't understand.
Yeah.
And we need to speak in the language that people understand.
And that's one of the things I'm very passionate about
Mhm.
because I always say to people that well, I'm going to step back a little bit. At my previous role, I created something called the Ontario Conference News Network.
Right.
And the whole point of that was not to highlight sermons
Mm.
or the happenings in a church per se, because what I found is when I talk to people that don't know much about God or they're still learning or they don't know anything about church, if you say to them, "So what do you think happens in church?" They'll say, "Well, there's a sermon,
Mm.
there's singing, and there's prayer. That's it."
Yeah.
And so that program is all about showcasing what happens outside of that.
Mm.
So one person, well, I'll talk about it in the sense of there are our churches do such wonderful things. We have churches that are doing health programs, mental health, physical health. We
Mhm.
have churches that are doing programs just for kids in the community. We have churches that are doing outreach programs to help people that
Mhm.
are in difficult situations with their finances or even with their food security.
Right.
And most people don't know that.
Yeah.
And this is one of the best kept secrets for those that are not Adventists.
Yeah.
And so when you have a program like that that shows them, then they realize, wow, okay, so this is what Christians mean when they say we're the hands and feet of Jesus.
Right.
So for me, what I'm passionate about is making that connection for people so they understand that the Adventist church is about helping transform lives because Jesus transformed us.
That's right.
And so then they can see if that's what happened to them, I think I want some of that.
Nice.
And I'm really pleased to share in one of the programs that I created, that OCNN. I actually met a person on the street, and I should say really a bowling alley. I was in a bowling alley, and
Right.
a person came up to me and said, "Hey, you were on that OCNN program," and I'm like, "Yeah,"
Mm.
and she said, I really liked what I saw, but here's the part that touched me.
Mm.
She said that not only did I like what I saw, but I know I need God in my life.
Wow.
And I believe I need to start with an Adventist church. Can you help me find a Seventh day Adventist church?
Wonderful.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
Often, what we do, what you and I are doing here today, many of our programs, we don't know how it touches people.
Yeah.
And I feel so blessed that God gave me the opportunity to see, in this case, how that kind of programming that
Mhm.
shows what we can do in the community for Christ to connect people to Jesus
Yeah.
can really change lives.
So, Sean, how do you build bridges between content and purpose?
Mm. Content and purpose. My goodness, that's a beautiful one because
Yeah.
for me, I always start, what's the purpose? What are we trying to do? And in this case, we're trying to reach people that might not know much about Jesus.
Mm.
So that's our purpose. But then we have to break it down a little bit further because there's a range of people in that.
Yeah.
Are we trying to reach teens?
Mm.
Teens programming is not going to be the same as senior programming,
Right.
right? So once you start to break it down and you understand this is my purpose, this is the group that I want to reach, then that's how you build the content around it.
Yeah.
So, I mentioned with the kids program, I realized that kids need stuff that is fast moving, but it has to be funny. So we built every episode when I did
Mm.
the children's program around something they can immediately gravitate to in that first 5 minutes. In the
Right.
first 5 minutes, they knew what the problem was and they were laughing.
Yeah.
And then we go to the cartoon part because kids love cartoons.
Right.
And then after that, it gives a little biblical message. And that's where I, as the pastor now, would
Yeah.
talk about the biblical message in a short way. My wife would talk about it in the practical application way. But again, we're building that intentionally around our demographic. And in this case, it's kids.
Yeah.
And so we have to do that. We start with purpose.
Hmm.
We identify specifically the purpose.
Yeah.
Then we build the content around it.
Right. So we have television shows called It Is Written, Voice of Prophecy,
Mhm.
different shows on Canadian television. There is media staying within the walls of a half-hour religious show,
Mm,
or what are we moving towards?
mhm,
What are people watching out there? How are they viewing things
mhm.
on their phones or on their computers or on their televisions?
Yeah, it used to be what we would call linear programming. So it means
Mhm.
the TV station to your TV set. Now it's non-linear. People are picking up programming in a variety of ways.
Okay,
And it's interesting when you look at some of the demographics.
yeah,
So people will always tell you, Instagram is for, let's say, millennials and younger. TikTok is for the very young teens.
mhm.
Facebook is for the seniors. We're now at a phase in Canada where that's no longer the case.
Really,
Pretty much all those groups
yeah,
are looking at. You'll see millennials that still have Facebook and watching people on Facebook. You'll see millennials and some seniors watching TikTok because
yeah.
we're now in Canada. I'm not talking about the US or other places. There's a lot of merger. But
Mm,
what we have to do now is then create, let's say we take this program.
mm,
So this would be great for those that would be watching it on a YouTube program. But then we could take this program and with a few edits, turn it so we get the core of the content into a quick soundbite
mhm.
on social media
Right,
that someone that's looking for a very quick message, they'll look at that and they'll say, hey, this was interesting.
yeah.
And then the neat thing is by doing that, you can actually get people to watch the longer program.
Wow.
I'll give you a very interesting example of how media has changed.
Mm,
So, I was in a discussion with other media people, and they were saying, I'm trying to figure out how my 13-year-old is watching some program. And I said, it's not a mystery. They're going on TikTok or Instagram and they're seeing snippets of this classic, I think it was like a classic 70s show.
yeah.
They're seeing snippets of that classic 70s show. And it got them so interested, they decided to watch the longer version of it.
Wow. Yeah.
I mean, we wouldn't think that, but by creating really effective snippets, we can get people now watching long form programs.
Yeah.
People sometimes say, oh, the long form program is dead. That's not the case. People just want to know what it's all about. And once they realize it's for them,
Yeah.
they'll watch. If the content is quality, they'll watch no matter how long it is.
We're doing some studies recently because, one of the things we offer here are Bible studies. And
Mhm.
usually those are the seniors, they want something in their hands to do. They don't want to do it on computer.
Yeah.
But what we're amazed at is the under 20 crowd wants something in their hands. They're the ones that are buying the LPs again. They're the
Yes.
ones that are buying books again. So it's
Yes.
neat how we have to stay current. All these, cable used to be the big thing. My kids don't watch cable.
Yeah.
They watch YouTube.
Yeah.
That's their television and all that. So we
Yeah.
have to learn to communicate in the same modes of how people are watching.
And what's exciting for me is the whole thing that we always have to be in that dynamic space
Right.
because we have to realize, okay, there's a shift from this to that.
Mhm.
Then we have to figure out how do we make that shift and keep our program relevant.
That's right. So what are some of the overlooked audiences that you'd love to reach through Channel Canada?
hmm I think when you're looking at programming that talks about faith,
Yeah.
there's a few groups. One for me is dear to my heart is kids.
Yeah.
I think we need to have programming that really reaches them, that makes them feel like I want to watch this show and they're getting faith-based messages.
Mm, mm,
I think another group is Ontario, Canada, all of our provinces
mm.
are under a big demographic shift.
Right.
I was asked to do a presentation in one province on cross-cultural communication.
Hmm.
And when I asked them about the different groups, it sounded like just about everywhere else in Canada, they're all talking about different immigrant groups.
Yeah.
And we haven't really put together programs that reach out to them,
Hmm.
that say, you know what, you're new here, but you have a home here.
Yeah.
And that part of that home is with a God that loves you.
Right. Right.
But that requires some sensitivity in how we put that together and how we reach out and how we be relevant. So those are two groups.
Hmm.
We can always break it down, but those are two groups that I see that we
Yeah.
can do some work with.
Canada's a vast array of people
hmm
groups. and we can't just be narrowed into one. We have to reach everybody. And
Yeah, and
yeah,
and another thing is geographic too. So we make the assumption that we all got internet, but there's some places where the internet is, you got to send up something in a satellite or
that's
buy
right.
something
That's
special
right.
to get internet. So how do we reach those groups?
Yeah,
So, and in that case, sometimes TV is still the best way to
that's
go.
right. That's right.
So we really have to look at it not only in people but geographically as well.
Yeah,
So it's a mammoth task, but
that's
I'm
right.
quite happy because we got a awesome God.
Yeah.
So for him, this is tiny. So we just got to work with him, and he'll make it all come together.
I work with Adventist World Radio, and they have these things called God Pods,
Hmm.
and they can be charged by the sun,
Yes.
and you can listen to them radio around the world. So
Hmm.
wherever you are in this world, you can get shortwave, AM or FM radios that are
Hmm.
tuned with a story about Jesus, and
Hmm.
that's amazing. So Shawn, what does a successful Hope Channel Canada look like 3 to 5 years from now? Right
Hmm.
now, we're small.
Yeah.
We're in a borrowed studio, kind of, but we've made it work for all the different shows that we have on. Take me through 3 to 5 years from now.
Okay. Let me tell you what excites me in terms of my vision.
Yeah.
I see Hope Channel becoming truly a hub in Canada,
Mhm.
not just for our faith-based media, but it becomes a place that we can train on everything from local churches to communities,
Yeah.
where they can learn about different outreach, they can learn about different things that will help make a transformation in their community. In
Yeah.
terms of our programming, I see our programming being something where every program that we put out, people are interacting.
Yeah.
They're typing, or they're calling, or they're
Right.
writing a letter maybe, but
Yeah.
they're basically saying, I want more information, or I liked how you did that. Could someone tell me how?
Mm.
Because then we're not a passive thing like watching a movie.
Yeah.
We're actually in a relationship. And that's ultimately what we are all about. Jesus wants us to have that relationship with people so he can
Yes.
transform their lives,
Yes.
just as he transformed ours through our relationship with him.
Yeah.
And in 5 years, that's what my vision is to see a station that is just interacting, and we have such interaction. People are saying, yes, I want to attend church, I want to give my life to Jesus, I want to find out more, I just want to know more.
Wow. Wow.
Mhm.
That's incredible. So Shawn, I'm going to ask you to do something unique here, is it?
Yes.
And I'm going to ask you to look at camera 3 before I ask this. Is what advice would you give to young rainmakers,
Mm.
young professionals who want to serve God through creative or business-based roles?
Mhm.
Go ahead and speak to the camera and invite them or give them some advice.
So I am so happy to talk to you, and I want to tell you this, for all of you that are content creators, I want you to keep doing what you're doing, because what you don't realize is whatever you're doing, whether you're just putting a different facial feature on something or a different background, you're actually creating valuable content, a content that God can use in an amazing way. And if you are a person that's looking to start a business, then what I would say to you is start with prayer. God will never leave you or forsake you, but he will lead you down the right path of something that will be productive for you. So ask him first, and then once God has shown you, go all out. Doesn't matter how difficult it may be, because God has your back. He's going to have something to make a blessing for you.
Excellent. Thank you for that because um, being in youth ministries for most of my life, teaching, working in our schools, pastoring, running youth camps, I've been around young people, and young people come with a vibrancy. They come on fire. They want to be able to help out, lead somebody else to Jesus, or to just share their faith with somebody else. So I'm glad you said that, Shawn, to get that because there's a lot of content creators out there,
Yeah.
and it's good to look at something funny on Instagram, but I want to look at something that has an endpoint.
Yes.
And I find a lot more content coming out where people are saying, don't be afraid to look up,
Yes.
or here's what God's done for me.
Mhm.
For that, if you could ask viewers and supporters to pray for one thing, what would it be?
I would ask them to pray for the continued strength by strength growth of Hope Channel,
Yes.
because we've started a solid foundation, and basically we're growing from this point on.
Mhm.
And so we need to grow from strength to strength. There's an excellent team here. There's a lot of committed, wonderful people here.
Yeah.
And so I would ask people just pray for us. So whatever doors need to be opened, God opens them. Whatever roadblocks need to be turned into detours, God does that as well.
Excellent. I'm praying, Shawn, that when anybody thinks of good, wholesome Christian television, they'll think of Hope Channel Canada,
Mhm.
and that will be throughout Canada, wherever you are,
Yeah.
in the Arctic, coast. They will have a wonderful Christian broadcasting that
Yeah.
they can turn to. So
Amen.
thank you for joining me on Rainmaker, Shawn. It's been a pleasure to have you on and to see your vision of what we're doing here at Hope Channel.
Thank you for having me.
Have you been moved by this story and feel inspired to help us to continue bringing these impactful moments to life? Your support is essential for us to keep showcasing the volunteers making a difference. If you'd like to contribute to the production of Hope Channel Canada and its ministries, it's simple. Visit agentsofhope.ca, where you'll find various ways to donate by credit, debit, Google Pay, Apple Pay, or send an e-transfer to Agents of Hope at hopetv.ca. Prefer mailing a check? Send it to Hope Channel Canada at 1148 King Street East, Oshawa, Ontario, L1H 1H8. For a more personal connection, call us at 1 855 4 HOPE TV. That's 1 855 446 7388. Don't forget to subscribe to YouTube channel, Hope Channel Canada, and click the notification bell so you'll never miss an episode. You can also watch the show on multiple platforms: hopetv.ca, cable TV, the Roku app, and the Hope Channel app. Are you looking for answers to life's most profound questions? Hope Study provides free online Bible courses that cover essential topics, all at your own pace and from the comfort of your own home. One of our enriching courses, The Unlimited Power of Prayer, invites you to discover the remarkable world of prayer. Here, talking with God is not just a boring routine, but a sincere conversation with the source of love and wisdom. This study will deepen your understanding of prayer's incredible power to help you build a stronger connection with God. Signing up is easy and completely free at hopestudy.ca. Begin your journey today and feel free to share this valuable resource with anyone else seeking answers. Uncover life's answers. Visit hopestudy.ca and start your journey today.